Hello, listeners. Welcome to the Gallant Fuse Christmas special and a very Merry Christmas to you and all your families. I hope at the time of this pod going out, you are stuffing your face, you're overeating, you're overdrinking, overindulging, and just really having the best time, whatever you're doing on Christmas Day. My name's Colin, and I will be acting as host and Santa Colin, as always, for a Christmas special. Sorry for the YouTube listeners, I don't have my Santa hat as I did the last couple of years. The Rangers store in the city centre ran out, so um, Bah Humbug Rangers. Here to join me, my three little elves, my three good boys, whatever way you want to do it. Definitely on the good list. First of all, Mason Stewart, how are you today, mate?
Yeah, well, good. Thanks, Colin. Thanks for having us on. Merry Christmas, everyone. Sorry, listeners, if I sound a little bit, under the weather. I am feeling a little bit ropey in a minute, so yeah, apologies about that. But no, looking forward to this because this I remember the one last year, Colin, and me, you, and Davie, wasn't it? Davie P, I think, wasn't it? So I don't think we got any of our wish list last year, so I'm hoping we get at least one or two this year.
Yeah, sorry to hear you're not feeling too well, mate. That's just your heart rate really reacting to your body with Rangers turning good again, and your body's going into shock. But hopefully you get used to that as the success continues. Also joining us his first year not believing in Santa. Andrew Stewart, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Colin. Thanks for that. Thanks. Hello, listeners. Merry Christmas. I hope you get everything you wanted. I'm sure I'd love if I could get everything I want, as we'll discuss later in this. But I think it's actually League Cup winning hangover that the Mason's still coming through with. I shrugged it off the other day, but maybe it's still lingering. Maybe a wee sore head there. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it might be that Rangers are being good again. Who knows?
And last and by no means least to a man on the continent, maybe a wee bit more used to Krampus and Santa Claus, is Davie T. How are you?
Yeah, fine, thanks. Yeah, actually, our Santa Claus, the Dutch Santa Claus, is actually the 5th of December, and it's a sort of a bishop type person, although Christmas and Santa Claus is coming more in these days with the once the Dutch Santa Claus is out the way. So, no, I'm fine, and looking forward to Christmas, looking forward to Rangers being top of the league at the end of the year.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Maybe we'll even have a New Year special for that as well. But first, let's get to the presents. The format today, listeners, is I'm going to I've asked each of my guests to provide two players on their Christmas wish list. They're going to present their case as to why Rangers should sign them. And as always, it has to be realistic. Mason did come with Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, and he was sent packing. It has to be realistic targets why Rangers should sign him in the January transfer window, and we'll talk through each. So I'm going to start with. Let's start with the back and work our way forward then. So, Andrew, I'm going to put you on the spot first and foremost because on your wish list, you have a centre half. Talk you through who and why.
Excuse me. I had a look at our kind of centre backs that are kind of going out of contract in the summer. I think that's a market we need to look at. I think we don't want to overspend in January because, as we know, it's a difficult window for getting players at a price you'd like to get them at. So I think if we can be forward thinking is to plan ahead for the summer, a centre back that is out of contract in the summer. He's 30 years of age. Jamal Lascelles from Newcastle. He is a club captain. I just think it could be a possibility because Newcastle in the position they are. If they deem that he's not good enough, they'll just spend 60 mil or 70 mil on a centre back. They've got that funding now, where if he's just not good enough, they'll cut him surplus to their requirements. So I think he might be looking at the summer and going, where can I move to? 30-year-old for centre back, I think that's pretty decent. I think if you're talking Leon Balogun, he's 35 now. You don't know how long he's got left in the tank. I'm not saying he's had a poor season. I think he's had a brilliant season where he's been called upon. But I think if you can get somebody with the wealth of experience he has in the Premier League, he's had a couple of appearances in the Champions League. That would be a really, really good marquee centre back signing. I don't think it would be cheap. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it would be cheap at all. There'll be other suitors looking for him. But if we can push the ball out and and grab him, I'd be over the moon.
Davie, we spoke time and time on the pod again about the old guard, if you like, and the same players have been here for too long. We need to freshen it up, but at the same time, you lose a lot of experience if you just move Golson and Tavernier out, for example. I was interested when Andrew sent this over, a 30-year-old experienced centre-back, but the question I want to ask you is, do you agree that we need to freshen up the centre-backs? For me, I think we do. Leon Balogun isn't a long-term option. I don't think Suter or Davis, just with their inconsistent form and their injuries, they can be long-term options or not the future, and there is going to be an expiry date on Connor Goldson, so I do think we need somebody else in. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I've said in the podcast quite a few times that we need to regenerate the old guard. And yeah, I don't really know an awful lot about Lascelles. I've just what I've sort of picked up on Wikipedia and all the other websites. But the big thing about bringing in a player from the Premier League is going to be the wages. Our wages are now sky high, and you're not going to get. I mean, I think even Butland came in. He's over the 40,000, I believe. And I think if you bring in another player at that rate, then I think our wage bill is going to be far too high. Because I mean, I thought the other name that was kicking about was McKenna, of course, would come, but he's also another Premier League player. He's not going to be coming for 10,000, 20,000 pounds. So I think that's the big problem we've got with Premier League players. I think we've really got to. I think the new DOF, Niels Koppen, I think he will be more looking at the Belgian league, at the maybe the second division in England. But I doubt we'll be going for players in the Premier League. I think that'll just put our wage bill far too high. We want to cut our wage bill. We don't want to be putting it up.
Mason, I do take Davie's point where it's going to be tough to compete with Premier League wages, and even if Jamal Lascelles does move on from Newcastle, he can still get double his wage in the English Championship than what he will get at Rangers. But the reason we have the likes of Jack Butland come up, we've seen Jermaine Defoe come up, we've seen time and time again players take a wage cut because they want to come up and play in front of 50,000 fans and play in Europe and compete for trophies, and it's something that Jamal Lewis has never really done. Yes, he does have over 170 games in the Premier League, over 100 games in the Championship. In a game of shows your medals, he falls quite low down. What's your thoughts on how realistic this is?
Realistic, I don't see it, to be honest, Colin. I think he's on 60, 70 grand a week at the minute at Newcastle. And to be honest, I don't think he's better than Connor Goldson. If I'm being brutally honest, anytime I've seen Lascelles, I've not really been impressed. And he's only been playing this season because Newcastle have had a lot of injuries to their centre halves. If we're going to pay someone because if he's going to come, it's going to be 30 odd grand a week. He's not taking. I mean, there could be an argument he wouldn't take that much of a hit anyway. But say if he's one of our top earners, I think we can get better. And I think that right side centre half, I take everyone's point, and I've said it as well, the old guard do need moved on. But if we're moving them on, the likes of Goldson at the end of the season, dare I say it now, Tavernier after last week and the performance he's had under the new manager, we've got to be bringing in better than what we've already got. And I'd really debate all day long if Jamal Lascelles is any better than Connor Goldson. Even at a year or two younger, so it wouldn't be a centre half I'd go for. And if we are going to sign centre halves in the summer, for me, it's got to be left-sided centre halves because I don't expect Ben Davies to be here next season, and we haven't got another left-sided player. Davie there just made the point about Scott McKenna. I think that would be way more realistic with the amount of contract and being a left-sided player. And you've got to remember when he signed at Forest, they was in the Championship, so he'd be on a Championship wage. And again, I take your point, Championship clubs can pay a lot of money. But I remember when we signed Tom Lawrence and what we could offer him, we blew Sheffield United out of the water. And that was Paul Heckingbottom's words when they was in the Championship. So I don't sort of agree with the Championship clubs can blow us out of the water. I don't believe that. I think what we can pay for top earners, I think will match or better. And as you said, what we can offer here is far better than what we can offer for me in the Championship. But yeah, that Premier League wage is a problem, and especially with Jamal Lascelles.
I've probably been a wee bit loose with the terminology there, and there's certain clubs in the Championship. Obviously, Sheffield United are the basket case. We speak about them time and time again in the EPL show. Leeds United, Leicester, big clubs with big money, like they're going to blow Rangers out the water. But I take your point. Sheffield Wednesday, perhaps. Aren't they going to? Blackburn Rovers, maybe not. Andrew, final word on Jamal Lascelles. I think, and again, it's hard to compare because he's playing at a completely different sport for what Rangers are playing in the Premier League. He's playing at the Champions League. He's had 5 games in the Champions League this year. I'd say he's at least on par with Golson, if I'm being honest. But I think it'll be I think it would have to be Golson or Lascelles as the main man. I don't think we keep both of them. So if you do bring in Lascelles, does that mean the end of Connor Golson?
Well, I think I'm banking on the fact that he's good enough that he'll play right side where Connor is probably. I think Connor falls into the kind of Tavernier category next season, where I think it'd be unrealistic to say he starts every single game of the season. I think if we want to keep him long term, we're going to need to find a schedule that works to keep him and his body in a condition where he's not going to end up like Kemar Roof. I think you'll see the same with that Tavernier and Sterling next season. I think that is, unless Big Phil wants to play him at centre mid next season, that you're going to see Tavernier rotate more often. I think Lascelles, I thought, could probably be good enough where he could play left-sided centre half and just, I don't want to say just get away with it, but I think that go alongside with Golson having less games at the right side and hoping he'd be good enough to play left side of the two centre backs. I still would like that move. I think I would say I'm banking on the fact that he's had the taste of European football with Newcastle, and then he might be getting moved out of the squad as their kind of injured players come back into fitness. He's had that taste of Europe. You want to go to a team that's going to have more European nights, big crowd, and that's something we can offer him.
I do think it's the type of market Rangers should be trying to asking the question. I say this all the time. It's when you go to a dancing, like go for the hottest bird first, right? All they can say is no. Right, you move on. I think Rangers should be looking at Premier League players out of contract. What's the worst that can happen? If they say no, they say no. I do like the idea of looking at this market. I probably would like to see Lascelles in. I'm going to put it in the Santa sack with a caveat that it probably means we move on centre halves first, just to free up the wage bill and get some new blood in too. Davie?
See, the thing, Colin, that I'm frightened of is there's a lot of dud players in the Premier League. Remember Celtic brought in Duffy. Remember, look at the guy Phillips who've got in now. We all think, oh, he's Premier League, he must be good, but it's not like that. There's an awful lot of dud players in the Premier League, and I think we've got to be really, really wary of that. And I think that Mr. Coppin, I think he will be more going with players that he knows, and will get Rangers a good deal. I think he'll be going for, it's been said at the annual general meeting that what we need to do is go for players that we can sell on, and that's the way the club's got to go. And I very much doubt we'll be bringing in a Premier League player for that reason as well, not just the wages, but also for the reason that if we give him a 4-year contract or even a 2-year contract, he's going to be 32, maybe 33, and I think that will stop any players coming in from that zone.
I take your point, Davie. For every Shane Duffy and Nat Phillips, you get a Connor Golson and Jack Butland, and it's
they came from the lower leagues, didn't they?
Premier League.
No,
Did Golson come from Premier League? Okay, sorry.
Aye. So, and as a gamble, you take whoever's signing, and I do think we need to look at the player trading model. We can't sign 12, 19-year-olds, but so we do need to get the squad younger and more profitable, but we do need to make sure we keep some experience as well. So that's why I think there will be maybe 1 or 2 experienced signings, but the rest, you're right, it'll be, projects, if you like.
Just on that, Colin, I think it depends. It doesn't, for me, it doesn't matter where they come from, but they've got to have a point to prove. They've got Jack Butland still had a massive point to prove because he didn't play for nearly 2 years. Connor Goldson had obviously a heart scare and he was out of the game for a long time. Jamal Lascelles, for me, a player like that, he's got nothing to prove. He's played, he's done it all. So that's where I would be a little bit more. And you make a really good point there about the player trading model. It doesn't mean now we're just going to sign players that are younger than 25 and that's all we've got to go for. There's still players. Look at Scott Arfield, at 28, 29. There's players there that can add value without selling on. We've got to be looking to win things in the next 2 years with experienced players as well. So I think that's an important one.
Davie Weir.
Yeah,
Dave, I read a really good article today for a friend of the pod, Scott McPike on SM Media on Walter Smith's second spell and his top 10 best signings, and he put Davie Weir his best signing. I'd argue he was Smith's best ever signing, but that's a different pod. But on to the younger and trendier and a bit more sellable. Mason, I'm going to come to you first. I've been a fan of this player for ever since he broke through at Hibs. I'm still a big fan of him. I think he's maybe having a tougher time than at his current club than what he's had previously, but I still think he's a terrific player. Which fullback are you bringing in and why?
Josh Deutsch, Colin, he should have been signed before Rivdan Yilmaz. I think I've said that on the pod before. I think we ended up paying, if you'll believe the fee was 5 plus add-ons, etc. I think in the end, I'm pretty sure they paid 3 million to Hibs to get Josh Deutsch Verona. So I couldn't understand that you had a player there ready that knew our league, full of energy, quick, really good age. Ready to come in, and then we went for a Turkish player that still hasn't settled in sort of 18 months later. And to be honest, I think we all know in the summer, maybe in January, he'll be a player that we end up moving on anyway. So yeah, Josh Deutsch, I was really surprised. Obviously, the last sort of he nearly left in the summer to stay in Serie A. I can't remember what Serie A club it was, but they agreed a fee for just under 5 million. But he's hardly played this season after that. I don't know if his head's turned or, manager doesn't fancy him now or whatever. But if he's a player that we could bring in, again, January is a really difficult month because I don't see us spending 3, 4, 5 million on one player. But if we can get him with a loan option to buy for the summer with the thoughts, obviously, that we're going to be getting rid of Yilmaz and a couple of others, I think Josh Deutsch has to be top of the list. Scottish. I think he's got a real chance to be in the Scotland squad as well regularly in the next few years with his age. I've been impressed any time I've seen him. And yeah, just the frustration for me is that we didn't get him when we had the opportunity. That like many Scottish players, I've said it before, we just overlook it and then we're chasing after that. So yeah, he's got to be one that at least we asked the question, like you said earlier. If we can't get him in January, then surely he's one that we look at in the summer.
David, I'll come to you first because I know you would have seen him at Hibs. He ticks so many boxes for me. He can play left back, right back, left mid. He's even had a wee stint at centre back here and there. He's quick. He's comfortable in the ball. He's a marauding fullback. Only 21, Scottish, fills that quota. I think he is better than both the left backs. I'll be honest. I'm a big fan of Yilmaz. I do think he improves our squad.
Well, first of all, I'm not that into Yilmaz. I think he's, first of all, physically far too small. I think he's not physically too small and not strong enough. So I think definitely we need a left back brought in. Doig, I think we actually missed the boat when we should have got him from Hibs. But unfortunately, there's this Rangers hosiery that doesn't allow us to go for Scottish players for some reason. All our fans say, "Oh, he's Scottish, he'll be rubbish." But we've seen that now with Ferguson and with Doig. And I think I don't know what kind of wages they'll be on. He'll be on. Is it Italy he plays in? I think. I
Aye,
don't know.
Verona.
I don't know what kind of wages he'll be on there, but it certainly won't be Premier League wages. So I think it's probably a wage that we could afford. And as I say, I think it's just a shame that we let these players go. I think we should be looking at more players in Scotland, because I think there are good players in Scotland. And it's I think it's a no-brainer to go for it. It brings up the Scottish, the amount of Scottish players that we've got, and I think it's another a no-brainer. I don't know, I've got one name that I know is coming out of contract in the summer for Nottingham Forest, Toffolo. I don't know if the English guy, if Mason knows anything about him, or Andrew. Harry Toffolo, I think he's called.
He's got a betting charge over his head at the minute, though.
Oh, okay.
Aye.
Okay.
Oh well, so I mean, yeah, it's
All
basically
bets
just
are off.
being. Aye.
There's a Christmas cracker joke for you today.
But Andrew, Mason touched on this about the money that Verona would want to transfer marked, who is not always pinpoint, but it gives you a fair lay of the land. They value him at €7 million. He's contracted to Verona till June 2026, so would be a significant fee involved. Maybe similar to Lascelles and the Golson. I don't think you have Josh Doig and Ridvan Yilmaz in the same squad. I think Yilmaz has the same, not the same value, but a similar potential transfer market. People will pay for his potential, as Rangers did. I think if we were to bring Doig, we need to move Yilmaz on. Personally, I'd be okay with that. I do like Yilmaz. I like Doig better. And again, the Scottish quota. So, what's your thoughts on that, or is that a wee bit short-sighted? Do we keep two profitable players in the left back position?
Well, I feel like I always say that this season, I don't think Ridvan showed me anything more that Bonner has. He's younger, obviously. I think that's obvious when Bonner's in his 30s and Ridvan's could still be in uni. His age. He should be showing me a lot more than what Bonner Barisic offers. And at times Bonner hasn't been good. That's not saying that Bonner's been 10 out of 10 every week, and that's why Yilmaz isn't getting a chance. My issue is he's had injuries, and when he's had his chances, he's not grasping them consistently. He might have one game. I mean, me and you went to the Livingston game for press duty, and he does that mazy run through the midfield and scores with a finish that only I would be able to produce on a five-a-side pitch with a massive toe poke. But he's probably still going to have shooters that will pay for almost what we paid for him. So we'll make a loss probably, but not as bad as we would have thought maybe like last season where he really struggled to feature. Because he has had a couple more games that maybe people will bank on. Yeah, no, there's something there. There's something there that we can develop at our club, and that's why we'll buy him off Rangers. Doig for me was the option I would have bought instead of Yilmaz at the time. I think Mason's spot on. We really should have cashed it, like just given Hearts the Hibs the money for him, and also David T's correct. There is that portion of the support that doesn't like the Scottish players. I mean, for every Aaron Hickey or Josh Doig that go well down south, coming from Hibs and Hickey from Hearts, you've got Jake Hasty from Motherwell, who was supposed to be a star in our league and is now in. Is it Linfield? The last time I checked, I don't know where he is now. It's just people are not really too bit focused on the success stories and more on the failures. I think we should have taken that punt at the time. He was dynamic. He was quick. He's at any game I'd seen that Hibs against us that season. I was thinking, especially because Bonner wasn't going through a bright patch at that point, I was thinking, wow, Doig is actually. If I'm looking at the two left backs in this park, Doig, who was a lot younger, is making Bonner look like the one. He should be the young guy, and Doig should have been the player that you would have thought was playing in Europe and looked experienced and was comfortable on the ball. I think I don't want to keep saying push the boat out because I know we're how we are with transfer funds, but I think Mason's right. He should be top of our list. The Scottish quota certainly helps for another positive that Ridvan doesn't have.
Last word on you, Mason. I do think we are likely to see one of the left backs go in January because we either let Barisic run down his contract or we give him a new one. No, let Barisic run down his contract or we get some money for him in January. I think that's the easier option than try to punt Yilmaz for more than his value. If that does happen, how likely is it that we could get Josh Doig on a loan to buy?
Well, look, he's not playing too much at the moment, so that could obviously help us. Yeah, I think if we are going to get Josh Doig in January, it is going to be a loan to buy. I think it will be, getting him in and then paying in the summer. With him being first choice, with him being first choice, I think it's a real problem area for us at the moment. I'm looking at the squad and I know we've got a lot of injuries in midfield and not a lot of options up front. But I think left back, when that ball goes out there, whoever's playing out there, whether that be Borna or that be Yilmaz, I think we just look really limited. And I think you can tell that. I think the players can tell that when the ball goes there. I think it breaks down a lot. I think I kind of do agree with Andrew. I mean, I'm not a Borna Barisic fan. I've not been for many years, but he's done. He's done, and the fact that he's still first choice is really, really worrying. So yeah, I'd really like us, even if we get 2.5-3 million for Yilmaz, if we can in January, I'll be delighted with that, and then use that money towards hopefully Josh Doig.
All aboard this. While Lascelles was a yes with a caveat, I am all aboard the Josh Doig train, so that is firmly top of the Christmas list. Davie, I'm going to come at you for your first pick. This has probably been the most interesting name I've been given. Yeah. I'm not going to steal your thunder because I know very little about this player, but from what you sent over, I like the idea of it. Tell me who and why.
Well, it's actually a player for the trading model. It's not a player that's actually got a long history at the moment. He's just actually, I think, played 11 games in the Eredivisie, and it's Ruben van Bommel. Now, everybody's probably heard of Mark van Bommel, the Dutch international player. It's his son. He's a left winger, but he's actually right-footed, I believe. And as I say, he's just breaking through just now. He's doing very well. He scored 3 goals in the 11, and he's had, I think, 3 or 4 assists on the few games that he has played. And I think it would be fitting right in with our players that we could buy now for probably not an awful lot of money and sell on later. Anytime I've seen him, he's looked really very sharp, and that's the way that I think the kind of players we should be bringing in. Whether he is now ready for the first team week in, week out, I very much doubt it at 19. But I think for the player trading model, that's the kind of players that I would be looking for as a sort of a backup for our strongest first team. And we've seen that in McCausland, how he's taken. He's a year older, but players of that age can make a big difference.
Andrew, I'm going to come to you first. Transfer marked, and again, just to be consistent, we're going to take the same valuations across the board there, saying it's roughly about €3 million. He's contracted to June 2027. And if we are going to go for this type of player, this is the time that we go for them. Where they aren't high on the radar, because if this player transpires into a regular first team player for AZ Alkmaar, we add several zeros onto his valuation, and we can't pay that type of money. It's a gamble though. I do think we need to be gambling with the player trading model. Not every 19-year-old is going to be a safe bet. But at €3 million, still less than what we paid for Rabbi Matondo, and I know you're all about the Matondo mania. I think it's maybe I'd be willing to go for that, providing we have other options in the winger. If we can keep Sima, if we have Matondo and Ross McCausland, that's your 4 wingers pushing €3 million for a project player. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think as part of this kind of player trading model, we're going to have to bet high. You know, we're going to have to buy in at these big poker tables because, you know, if there's any player with a shred of potential in Europe, you know, that you pay for the potential. You don't pay for the current ability, you pay for the potential. What it does help is that he is showing that he has a bit of skill to kind of to bring in straight away. You know, if he bring goals and assists early on in his career, that certainly helps. But we're probably going to have to pay a good fee for these kind of youngsters that are touted to have a bright future. But that's part of the game. To be in like kind of player trading model, you're going to need to buy high for some of these kind of really, really. And when I say buy high, I don't mean 10 million, but you're going to need to pay like you would pay £3 million for a kind of 27-year-old for the championship, you know, something like that. So paying £3 million for a 19-year-old who's only got a handful of professional games on his belt seems like quite a lot of money, but you need to pay that to have the chance of getting a couple years under his belt, goals, assists, league titles certainly help, cups, nights in Europe, progressions through group stages, or so on and so forth, and that price tag will just skyrocket, and then we'll sell on, and then it repeats itself. You find another 19-year-old from a league that could be Dutch league, it could be French league, it could be any kind of those kind of leagues, but it's certainly seems like a good way to kickstart the player trading model.
Mason, my only concern with this one is we're not playing Football Manager. I think we should be spending the money on Abdallah Sima. I don't think we will do that as well as somebody like Ruben van Bommel. I think if we don't get Abdallah Sima, then we'll maybe see that. But are Rangers in a position to be spending money, that type of money, for potential when we need to invest it in the here and now?
Yeah, that's a really good point, Colin. I think that listen, I don't really know a lot about him, to be fair. Davie T will know more about me, but you know, in terms of that position, if we're talking about January, I don't think that's a position that we need to go and get. I think there's other positions that we spoke about already, but in terms of the summer, I think Sima will obviously be one that we'll try. I think the manager's made that quite clear that you know, and whether or not we can agree a fee with Brighton to get that over the line, and then we'll wait and see. But yeah, I've got no problem with us spending 2-3 million on a youngster that's coming through. And another one that was at AZ, not last summer, no, it was last summer. Last summer when Gio was manager, he tried to get the midfielder Renders from AZ Alkmaar, as I say. And I think it was close to 5 million. Apparently, again, this is something that's come out after. And Bert Konterman advised him not to go to Rangers, and he went to AC Milan this summer for 22 million. So there are players, and the Dutch League one, you know, you've seen it many a times. I've always said Norwegian, you know, the Nordic countries. There's so many there as well that you can pick up, but you've got to be quick and you've got to go and get them. And if you know, we've got a good scouting system, and the new director of recruitment goes in there and sees the potential, then yeah, go and do it. I've got no problem. But obviously, we've seen it with Rabbi Matondo spending that kind of money. It's not happened straight away. We're an impatient bunch, aren't we? So you know, it's getting the balance. It's definitely getting the balance. But I think in terms of that left wing position, Simmer's got to be a priority. You know, I'd like to get him in, but I just think that the fee they're going to want at the moment is probably going to be a little bit too high.
Yeah, the better he plays, the more the pounds rack up. But Davie, last word on you on Ruben van Bommel. I'm all aboard this. Just like yeah, he's had 11 top flight games for his Alkmaar. He's also featured in the Conference League as well, 4 games there. He's got about 35 games for Maastricht in the lower divisions. They helped him get promotion. A lot of it's not as if we're signing somebody from an academy. He's played first team football. If we could get him for the 3 million mark, then yeah, I'm in for it. The question I'm going to ask you who finishes up on is how realistic is it we get him in January or the summer?
Yeah, well, AZ are a team that buy and sell players as well, so I would imagine, I don't know what the price would be. 3 million, I think you got from Transfermarkt. I don't know. I don't see it being a lot much higher, but it might be slightly higher. It hasn't. Obviously, last year he played with Maastricht MVV, and he scored 15. I think 15 goals for them in 31 games. So for a winger, that's a really good 15 goals for a season is really, really good. And what's the fact? He's 1 meter 92, which is very, very tall for a winger. You don't normally get wingers like that. So I would imagine that he's good at heading the ball. So probably a lot of goals are from headers. So I just think it would be a good investment because that's what we're talking about. We're talking investing for the future, and that's what we're talking about. So I think it would be a good investment for the future. Whether AZ are willing to let him go at the moment is another point. But obviously his contract, I think, was till 27. I think his contract.
Yep.
So
And Alkmaar only paid 550 grand for him. So we're
Yeah.
talking it's do they take 50 million? We don't know what their models like that. They might see that and say, no, what we're getting 6 times our money. So I think it's worth asking the question.
Yeah, oh, definitely, and he's certainly a good player. Obviously, good players in the family because obviously his father was a really, really good player as well. So his DNA, as they say, is pointing that he will be a top player, and I think it's worth taking the chance. And as I say, it's an investment for the future as well. It's not just a sort of a blind hit and miss type of signing.
No, I'll put this one in the bit. I'm feeling generous today. That's 3 signings I give my approval to in various degrees. We're going to go into everybody's second pick each, and I'm going to start with yourself, Andrew, because I want to finish on Davie and Mason is probably the most realistic to, and see them battle it out for what one we should do. I was interested when you sent this player over. If you asked me 2 years ago, I would have been banging the drum. Now I'm not quite sure, just because I think they might have fallen off the radar a wee bit. But I'm gonna let you convince me that I'm wrong. Who's your second player and why?
It's a name that you're correct. A good few years ago, there would be more than just Rangers looking at him. Ryan Gold. I think you're talking 6-7 years ago. He was supposed to be the next wonder kid, wasn't he? Makes that move for Dundee United to Portugal. Highly rated player. It never seemed to really work out in Portugal. With Lisbon at least, he kind of bounced about the teams there. Certainly kind of picked up his game when he left Lisbon. Most recently, he's been playing his trade in MLS. I think a few years ago, it was probably getting a lot more kind of credit for his kind of career revival. Where now he's just hit a consistent phase of, I think it's 2 years in a row he's been the Whitecaps Player of the Year. He was certainly in the last Scotland call up. They questioned Clark as to why he didn't get picked. I think I'll just want to double check with the good old Google, but I was right. 28. He's not gonna. I don't think he would be someone that comes in and is a player trade model. But you're talking guys that will come in as the kind of core of experienced players or people that know Rangers, the club, what the standards are, the expectations are. You're coming to Scotland. They're coming back to Scotland to one of the teams that want to contend for the league every season. I think he is somebody that you need to keep long term. I kind of keep him as this kind of Scott Arfield. I think he is good enough to break our team. I think because he's played the centre mid, he's played a wee bit deep, a wee bit forward, centre attacking mid. He's played off the wing. He's certainly getting goals and assists over there. I know we talk about the MLS not being the highest quality of football, but he's doing what I would expect somebody who is scushing the league to do. He's been, as I said, 2-time player of the year, goals, assists. He's done a lot, and I think he would be one you would coax back home. But European football, winning the league, I think that would be a good move for him. The thing is, I don't know the guy personally. He might be loving life in Canada, and he might just be happy and content, and that's just where he wants to play. And if that's the case, then players can always say no. That is the thing. So it'd be one I would look at. I think, especially for the kind of Scottish quota. I don't think there's many kind of more attacking midfielders that we can get from Scotland that would do a better job. I mean, I think we all like Lewis Ferguson. He's more deeper, but he has got goals in him. But that, unfortunately, that ship has long sailed.
I'm afraid so. Mason, Ryan Gould's out of contract at the end of 2024. So getting into his last year, it wouldn't quite be the full market value. I'm conflicted with this. He can play, as Andrew said, anywhere in the front six positions. Versatile. I think that's a definite pro. I think in terms of similar players, we have Tom Lawrence and Todd Cantwell and Yanis Hadji, who I would rate as better players as options here. And that's why I'm a wee bit hesitant. Having said that, if you compare their stats and their contribution to Ryan Gould, so he didn't have a great time at Sporting Lisbon, that's fair enough, but he played 71 games for Firenze after that, 20 goals and 12 assists. In the 94 games he's had for Vancouver Whitecaps, 26 goals and 29 assists. Much better than any of the three names that I've just mentioned. Is it worth considering?
Not for me personally. Them stats are, don't get me wrong, they're very good, but the MLS, I've said it before, is so poor. I've got family that live in Vancouver, and to answer Andrew's question, would he want to come back to Scotland from Vancouver? I doubt it. What a place that is, by the way. But I personally think, see, if he was 22, 23, 24, I'd say, yeah, definitely. But where he's 28, he's been out there for 3 years now. Making that change back to Scottish football, personally, especially at Rangers, I don't see it. I think Colin, you're right. I think that with the options that we have there in that sort of number 10 in Todd Cantwell, Lawrence, obviously injuries may be one that we have to move for in the summer. And Yanis Hadji, I would take over Ryan Gould as well. I just think that you play out in America for too long. I think especially coming to a club like us where the demands are so high, I just don't see it working. I think if we're going to go, sorry, I don't want to keep throwing different names, but I think if we are going to go down the Scottish route of midfielders, I think Conor Barron would be a more realistic one. He's obviously been heavily linked the last couple of weeks out of contract in the summer. And in a similar position, Scottish would be Josh Campbell at Hibs. He really reminds me of Scott Arfield a little bit. And he's a good age. Again, he's not out of contract. I don't think you'd have to pay money for him, but he would add a sell-on value. So I think if we're going to go for Scottish in them type of positions, personally, I'd rather see us go for Barron or Campbell over Ryan Gould. Again, coming back to the point, I think them two have got a point to prove over than someone that's playing in America that's 28.
Davie, what's your take on Ryan Gould as an option, and probably about the money we'd pay for them? I think that because he's in his last year of contract, and I know there's a lot of money going about in the MLS, I think you still maybe get him for less money than the likes of Conor Barron, because I find the Rangers tax will go on to these types of players. It's a different conversation whether they're value for money, but is that maybe somebody the Rangers, is Ryan Gould maybe somebody the Rangers can bring in at a reduced price to add in as a squad player?
Well, I'm actually very, very frightened now of players from the MLS after the last two.
Just remember, James Sands said the MLS is a better team than Scotland, right?
Yeah.
So if we're saying it's not, we're calling James Sands a liar. And he
Well,
fucking
You
I'm
is.
afraid.
for every
afraid
James
that's-
Sands,
that-
it's a Cameron Carter Vickers, unfortunately.
I'm afraid that's the way I'm going to go, because Sands and Cifuentes up till now have just absolutely shown nothing. And I watched when we were sort of going after Cifuentes, that sort of a Champions League that they had over there. I watched the two games in that, and it's walking football. It really is walking football. It's a very, very low class of football. So it's not difficult for a Scottish guy to make big, good statistics here. It's the standard is levels below what we have here. So I'm afraid I'm not. I would go for and there's rumours going around that it's actually already been put in place as the boy Connor Barn, you call him.
Mhm.
There's rumours as that's a done deal already. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. So I wouldn't bring it out as a rumour. But no, I think that would be a far better option. It would fit into the selling players on model, and he's already proved that he's ready for it just now. He's doing well in the Premier League. He's had good European experience the last few weeks, and Aberdeen, although they didn't get very many points, they really played good in some of the games that they played in Europe, and they should have actually had more points than they got. So that's the way I would go. I think that's a far better option than a player from the MLS with high statistics.
Andrew, I'm maybe not going to give you it for this Christmas, but this might be a case of Santa ran out of them, maybe ask again next year, and I'll explain why. I think paying a fee for him, I think anybody that we are buying, unless they are really long-term projects, they need to come in and improve the first 11 straight away, and I don't think he does that. Having said that, if he has got 6 months left in his contract come the summer, I would be asking the question, because I think his versatility, he's Scottish. We wouldn't be giving him a huge wage. I think one maybe being a wee bit unfair that he plays in the MLS, because you can only, might be a poor standard, but you can only play what's up against you. I thought the times I've seen him in Portuguese football for Firenze, he was terrific. He was the main man there, and he was getting many plaudits. It was actually farcical that he didn't get a Scotland call up when he was there. So I think we do have talent there. Somebody who can do a job midfield, wing off the striker. I'd be asking the question in the summer, just because he gives you different options. I don't think he improves it in January. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, that you're spot on with because of the way the MLS is. He's out of contract probably this time next year. So you're talking summer as your 6 month kind of Bosman kind of time to look at the kind of pre-contract. I think it probably would be more useful to look at it then. As you're right, paying that kind of a fee, based on what we've got, I don't think you'd win over the majority of the Rangers support paying a fee after what we've seen with the James Sands and the Cifuentes. I think he would be a player. As said, if we're going to bring him in, he'll be like the kind of Scarfield. He'll be someone that'll just be here for a while. You kind of workhorse. It's not one I'm expecting to be part of the player trading model. It's one I'm more expecting to be part of a kind of core of experienced players. That is crucial to have in a team where you're gonna have a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old. You need to have guys that are been there and done it. That have these experiences. He's travelled all over the world. Going from Dundee United to Portugal to over to North America. Sorry. He's certainly played a fair amount of games. I think he's something that we should be at least checking with in the summer. But again, you go back to it. If he's loving Canada and he wants to stay there, then you might just sign a new deal, and I think that would be the end of it.
And we wouldn't blame him for not wanting to come back to sunny Scotland. So The last two picks, we're going to do a wee bit different here because they're both from the same league, same position, and probably the two most realistic signings we've got. Infamously, I've not been a fan of signing these type of players, but it is the season of good tidings. So Mason and Davie, I'm going to ask you to really try and convince me why your pick is. I'll put the cards on the table. I don't think we should sign both these players in January. So you need to convince me what one goes in the bag. Mason, who is your signing, and why should he be a priority over Davies?
I think I'm boring the listeners with this one, to be honest. I've been saying it for about 6 weeks every time I've been on. Oh yes, definitely for me. I think Shankland is a no-brainer. I think he was a no-brainer in the summer. To be honest, when you go back, me, as I said earlier in the pod, you and Davie P was on last year, and Shankland come up, and I was like, nope. So I'll hold my hands up. Like this time last year, I said no. And I got it wrong because, it's someone that knows our league and scores goals in our league. I've said it sort of all year, but it's just we've overlooked it. And we haven't had a striker that scores 20 goals a season. I can't remember the last time we did, actually, to be honest. And I think January is such a difficult month anyway, because getting players from different leagues, and most of the time you're getting a player in January that hasn't played too much as well. And then they've got to get fit and hit the ground running. That's going to take time. But with Shankland, he comes straight away. He knows the league. He supports the club. He knows the club, and not just because he's a Rangers fan. By the way, I'm not just saying, but he's a Rangers supporter. He's got to play, but it helps. It definitely helps. I do believe you get a 10-15% more out of a player that supports the club. I think he'll be desperate to come. I think if we make the move, I think he'll be pushing as much as he can. Totally understand that Hearts will want. I don't think they'll get 4 million. I think that people saying, we'll pay for. I don't think he's got 18 months left. We might have to get to 3, but if you dangle 2.5 at Hearts, that's a lot of money for them to knock back. We're not talking about a John Suter this time last year where they're haggling over a couple of $100,000, where they can probably take that. But between 2.5, 3 million, that's a lot of money for Hearts. That's the Conference League money for them. So. I think it makes too much sense. I think it's so obvious for me, in my mind. I think it's so obvious that doesn't mean it's a bad one. And I know his age. I know he's a little bit older than Miovski. And by the way, I wouldn't be against Miovski, but I just think Aberdeen would want 4 or 5 million because they've got him locked under a bigger contract. But yeah, he's captain of Hearts. He's going to be in the Scotland squad. There's a good chance that he could be playing for Scotland. When you look at his numbers and the way he's performing, I watched him at Parkhead the other week, and the way he led the line at Parkhead, that's what I want a Rangers striker to be doing. And I think he'd be a better option than Dessers. So I'll be really disappointed, Colin, if we don't ask the question. If Hearts want too much money, more than we're prepared to pay, and we wait till the summer, fair enough. But that could be the difference from us winning the league or not.
So we've heard the Microsoft pitch. Let's bring in the Apple sales pitch, Davie. Mason said there, your pick, Bojan Miovski of Aberdeen. Why should he be the pick over Aberdeen before myself and Andrew talk amongst ourselves in Dragon Den's type conference?
Well, I'm going to start with Shankland first of all.
Oh, I love this tactic. Don't big up your own pitch. Just shit on the other guys.
Don't back down, double down.
He's only scored about 4 goals this season. He's scored against them and he scored against us, but virtually the same goal. And he's as slow as I don't know what. I wouldn't say what I've got in my head, but even John Lundstrom outsprinted him in the game against us. So no, he's just far too slow, Colin. If he gets any slower, he'll be running backwards. So I just don't see it, and he's not scored that many goals this season either.
To be fair, he scored 8 goals in the league, 13 goals in total this season. So I think we need to be fair than that.
Well, if you go over to Miovski, he scored 14 already this season, and he's just he's fast. He's obviously outsprinted our 2 defenders, and Balogun, I don't think Golson's not that quick, but Balogun is really quick, and Balogun's when he loses the ball, he's what's it you call it when he gets back to tackle it, put tackles in again. He's really quick at it, and Miovski just left him standing looking really. So it's 14 goals. He will cost a wee bit more. I don't think Aberdeen will get the 5 million or 4 million, maybe 3.5. But let's face it, he's only 24. Shankland is what, 28, 29 now? We're not going to get any money back in Shankland. Miovski, keep him from 2 years. They'll be 26 then. We'll get money back for him, probably more than we're going to spend on him. So it'll be not only be bringing in a good goal scorer, a proven goal scorer in our league. It'll be bringing in a player that fits our development, that fits our bringing money back into the club scheme. And I think that's the way we should be looking at every player these days. We should be looking to make money on players and not bringing in players that there's absolutely no sell-on value. And Miovski's, for me, this season, he's shown a lot more than Shankland has. And yeah, as I say, just watching the speed of him, that just put me right off. We need a striker that's got speed, because the rest of our team, we've got Sima, speed, Matondo. Well, Matondo hasn't really hit the heights. Sorry, Andrew. Matondo hasn't really hit the heights either that we were expected him to hit. Let's be honest with you. He's a wee bit better than he was the last 2 seasons, but he's still not there. So Matondo's one that I would be looking to sell, so as we can bring in players with Miovski. And I think that's what we've got to think about as well. We need to get players out of the club and bring in money, and then we can afford players like Miovski.
So, Andrew, I'm going to give you my rationale and reasoning on these 2 players and bring you in. It absolutely pains me to say, I think we need to take one of these players, and I've not been a big fan of going for either of these players. It's not because it's the snobbery of the Scottish League. It's just I don't think they're better than what we've got. But with the current striker situation where we've got Kemar Roof on the hospital bed again, it's only really Cyril Dessers because Danilo's out injured as well. We do need somebody, maybe not to come in as a long-term main man, but somebody who can come in, knows the game, and can get goals against the Dross, which we have struggled with. I think they are probably quite similar on a par. If you look at their goal stats throughout their career, they're both. Shankland's just over 1 and 2. Miovski's just under 1 and 2. Miovski's younger, probably more sell-on value, but I do think we'd get Shankland for a slightly lower price because of his age and his resale value. I think Shankland's got more experience in the league, and I think Shankland would be at Rangers for the rest of his career, and that's okay to have a number 3 striker who can come on. Nacho Novo springs to mind. I'm not quite concerned about the pace because in the games that we're going to play Shankland, you don't need pace because there's no way to run behind. There's only, there's only the 18-yard box to go behind. I would be going for long Shankland, and I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I'm doing a wee bit of a 180 on this, but he just comes in to be a second or third striker. It'd be the same if we went for Bojan Miovski. What's your take on this?
I've been a big fan of Lon Shankland for a long time. I live in Paisley, so I know some of the kind of things that were said when he was on loan at St Mirren. It was a good long time ago. He said I don't want to say a career resurgence in that time. He certainly had a bit of a rough patch. I think there was a lot of his his commitment to football, his commitment to being fit, and he kind of turned it around and he made his kind of move to Ayr United. He scored a lot of goals there, makes his move to Dundee United, goes there, moves to Belgium, didn't quite work. But a certain person that we know is Philippe Clement was in Belgium at that point in time. Obviously, he comes back to Hearts. I think this is where I think you're spot on with the amount of money that you would have to pay being really significant to Hearts. They paid £500,000 for him. You're talking if you spent 2.5, that's some significant profit for Hearts. You know, that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be spending that kind of $500,000 on players. Because it would be rough for Hearts to spend $2 million on a player. You go, well, why didn't we do that? I don't get me wrong. I like Miovski. I think we're probably going to get priced out because it's Aberdeen and it's Barry Robson. But also, I don't know what it is. I know that it was actually, I thought it was before he came to Rangers, but it was actually we'd bought him from Hearts and then we loaned him to Aberdeen. Andreas Felichka. He was he scored goals for Hearts. And we were like, oh, we'll have him. Didn't quite work out.
You say that, but he scored 9 goals that year. We won the league, and that 9 goals helped us win the league. And I do need to be fair. If Miovski or Shanklin come in and do that, get just close to double figures for Rangers, it's like Stephen Thompson in 2003 as well. They played a part. I think his money well spent.
I can't talk about Stephen Thompson because, as I say, I live in Paisley and nobody shuts up about Thompson lifting that cup and being a star. And it's like, no, come on, let's be realistic. Let's be realistic, guys. But get back to I'm leaning more to Shanklin, but I'm leaning to Shanklin because of that extra 10-15% you'll get out of him being a Rangers supporter. I think Davie T was right. He had a really slow start to the season, but he has picked it up these last few weeks. I don't know if that's because he knows that there's a certain amount of interest in him from a club in blue that we all know. Certainly, anytime he's played at Ibrox in recent kind of games, I said, I've been saying it until Tav penalty and Danilo header, that was the Shanklin show. He absolutely ran that game at Ibrox last game against Hearts. He was everywhere. He made clearances in his own box. He dropped deep to win the ball on the sidelines. You know, and I get the point about pace, but you're right. We are. I think we found it. I mean, Rabbi Matondo had the fast speed record in the Bundesliga, but you don't get that opportunity, which we've found out. You do occasionally, but then the question falls to Matondo: can he actually score the one-on-one? I think.
Yeah, but the thing with Matondo, sorry, Andrew, the thing with Matondo is that his brain and his feet are not linked. That's the unfortunate thing about it.
That's true.
Did Chris Boyd have pace, though? Did Chris Boyd have pace?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
True, and that's what I'm saying, where it's all fine and well saying you want the rounded player and pace when we're playing at Parkhead. Chris Boyd only played one game started one game at Parkhead, and it's when Kenny Miller was injured. You know, these players only got to come and win the big games for us, but we need players to come take the bins out. That's, you know, do the routine. That's what Antonio Cholak done.
Oh yeah, it's at the end of the season. It's the how many goals. It doesn't matter if you score from outside the box or you score from inside the 6-yard box. You don't get extra points. I said it at the weekend actually when Rangers won. You don't get more than 3 points for making it look good. You don't get 2 goals for scoring a screamer. It's a goal. If it doesn't matter if you scrape it over the line or you score from 40 yards, if it gets us 3 points, it gets us 3 points, and that gets us closer to the title.
Would it be a stupid thing to say, Colin, go back in for Cholak?
I don't think he comes back, and I don't think Palmer give us the same. I don't think we get him for the same price we paid for him initially. I think it'll be more because he's doing well in Palmer, and you know I wouldn't be adverse to it, but I don't think we get him. I think it's more realistic to get Miovski or Shanklin. So on that point, closing argument, gentlemen, in my Christmas shopping list, I have put probably at the top because most realistic Shanklin / Miovski. I'm okay with getting one of them, but I'm going to go and compare the market and get the cheapest one, the most cost-effective one. Realistically, how much do Rangers pay in January? Because incidentally, I do think we bring in a striker in January. Mason, how much do Rangers pay in January to bring in Lawrence Shanklin?
Hearts are going to want premium. I think they are, but they're not. They've got to be realistic as well. By the way, because he's got 18 months left. He is 28, 29. I'd go up to 2.7, 2.8 for him, Colin. I would personally. As I said earlier, we've got to remember, if we get him and he does win us the league, the goals he scores in the league wins us the league, what are we getting in Champions League money in comparison? Yeah, over 3 million. I really want Champion, but you start getting to over 3 million. Yeah, it's you know, a difficult one. Again, we don't know what kind of funds. Again, it might depend on players leaving. And you know, just to sort of say that Miovski's the same sort of money. I wouldn't go over 3 million for him. And I just think where it's Aberdeen, I don't even think we get on to we're talking with Aberdeen in terms, and especially what's happened again the last few weeks with them, and also I think, you know, if we go back to the Conor Barron one as well, the fact that if that is happening, and it make the reason why I think it is happening, he didn't even come on against us in the cup final there the other day, and they were struggling. Their legs were gone in midfield. They were struggling. They didn't even have. Robson didn't even go, right. He's got, you know, he might be leaving, but let's go and try and help. He didn't even come on, and he's someone that's been playing really well for him in recent weeks. So if you think they're going to do business with us for their main man at a decent price in our as, don't see it happening. But yeah, in terms of the money, over get to 3 million. I'll push it to 3 million. I think it'd be worth it. But over that, yeah, I understand why we maybe would look elsewhere.
Davie, same question to you, where I think Mason does have a point. I think Hearts are probably go a wee bit less leverage, because Shanklin is a known Rangers fan. He is going to be coming into the last year of his contract. Miovski's tied down. And there's this fake, right? Like, Aberdeen see us as our rivals, so there is an uproar. How much would Rangers need to pay to bring Miovski in January?
Well, I would hope for 4 million. And let's face it, a 24-year-old, an international player, a proven goal scorer in our league, I think it's a no-brainer to pay that for him. I don't think. I mean, we're talking about a striker. Strikers right away, as soon as you are going to pay more for a striker than you're going to pay for a left back or a right back, because a striker is your main man, and that's just I think it's a no-brainer to go for him. As I say, we'll get our money back in 2 years. We'll get our money back, and that's in fact we'll probably get more to go and bring in another player. But I think we need to stop this. Look at the players. I hate to say this, but look, we didn't put the money out. Scott Brown. Look at the service he was for Celtic. We didn't put the money out for Fairman. He's now going to be going probably to Italy for into the 15 to 20 million. And that's just the thing. We need to, sometimes you need to invest to get money back out. And I don't think 4 million would be enough a lot for a striker that's going to get you a lot of goals.
I do get that point, but I also am crippled with the fear of 2012 and how that happened. That spending gets you into that position. So you're right, we can't just be scrimping and scraping everywhere, but we do need to be staying within our budget. And bear in mind, it's not just a striker we need. See, if it was just a striker we need, I'd be saying push the boat out. In my eyes, we need a centre back, a left back, a couple of midfielders, a winger, 2 strikers. So that is where it becomes more difficult. But I do take your point. When with the top targets, we should be just making sure we get them.
We do have Lovelace coming back, of course.
Oh, aye, we do. I mean, we've got about 20 players come back for injury, but once they're back, another 20 will be injured again. So, you know, we do need to caveat we need an extra 8 players in the squad every year just to fill the hospital beds. But that's a completely separate show on its own. So, just to recap, then, who's gone in the Santa list then, or Santa sack? Jamal Lascelles is going in with the caveat that we move on a couple of centre halves. Josh Doig is going in by hook or by crook. Ruben Van Bommel, putting him in if we can if we don't get Abdallah Sima long term, I'll pay the money for Ruben Van Bommel. Ryan Gold, I'm holding off to the summer. That's maybe a back to show present, and I am taking one of Lauren Shanklin and Bojan Mayorshi. So there we go. What's that? 4 out of 6. Been quite generous this year. All that's left to do is thank you for everybody participating and watching. Just to say again, listeners, I hope you've had a cracking Christmas. You're enjoying yourself, enjoying whatever you're doing, time with your family, loved ones, friends. If you're working, I hope your day goes in quickly for you. And thank you for all the support of the pod throughout the year. Also, a shout out if you're watching on YouTube, you can join our members page for £1 a month and get extra daily shows throughout the week, and the same on Patreon as well. If you are listening audio only, you can join for £1 a month. Your support so much appreciated, and we're really looking forward to another, hopefully a more positive year talking about Rangers with you guys listening. Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure. First of all, Andrew, thanks very much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks very much. I had my Christmas list wrote out for Santa Colin well in advance. I left the cookies and carrots downstairs, but he didn't want them.
Tenants and tobacco you get in Glasgow.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks to all the listeners for your support this year. Still got a wee bit of time to go with another really big game coming up soon to end that this year. Let's hope it's another festive, feeling, happiness, that we've got after bringing the League Cup home. That was my Christmas present that I was really hoping for. But thank you again, all your support. I hope you had a great Christmas.
Mason, always a pleasure speaking to you, my friend.
Yeah, Andrew, thanks, boys. Thanks, listeners, again for this year. Hope everyone has a good Christmas and we keep winning. We want a good, feel good at the minute. I hope that continues into the new year. So I hope everyone has a good one.
And the last, by no means least, Davie T. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and thanks everybody for listening. And I hope you have a lovely Christmas and Santa fills your stockings. So with that, nice Christmas and a happy new year, of course.
Yeah. Have a great time, everybody, and as always, thanks for watching.